I'm sure Battler had a great night. It was already that late, though? Oh, no, wait. Is this 6 in the evening, or 6 in the evening, right? I can't believe it. Are you saying that's the truth? Yes, we've told you everything as we saw it. George folded his arms and started mumbling again, and the kitchen was once again wrapped in a long silence. George, I'm fully aware how hard it must be for you to believe all that so suddenly. After all, even though I saw it with my own eyes, I grow less and less sure what it was I actually saw. I'm sure I saw it, and I'm sure I got into a fight too, and yet I almost feel like it was all an illusion. I see. So that's why you couldn't go into the details in front of Aunt Rosa. If you actually told her what you've just told me, you'd probably be in even more trouble. Genji-san really did handle that one composedly, didn't he? Only I had the power to explain it myself. George had not actually seen it, and even when pressed to believe, he just couldn't imagine it. It was only natural, because even the people who had actually seen it had given up asking themselves what it was. Let's rewind the story a bit. Shannon, you said that when you thought Kanon-kun was an imposter, you picked up some spider webs and came back, right? Why did you do that? That's right, I was thinking about that as well. Why spider webs? I happened to hear it from Kumasawa-san once. A long time ago, evil spirits lived on Rock Kenjima and they, feared spider webs. I can relate. And they say there's a legend that people treasured spider webs as amulets. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be one of those. And right at that moment, I think I was also a bit confused. When it comes to those old stories, Kumasawa was very knowledgeable. Well, spiders are very useful bugs after all. Yes, it wouldn't be at all strange for a belief system like that to come into being. I'm sure that the Torii shrine was suppressing the power of those evil spirits. You mean the one where you fucking destroyed the mirror? And because the spirit mirror was broken, that power came back. That power must be what allowed Beatrice-sama to revive. If I, weak-hearted as I am, had done such an outrageous thing. Shannon, you don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't blame you for it. Since long ago, Shannon had often suggested that there was some kind of occult cause for her meeting with George. After listening to her, George had grown to think that she was being a typical girl, associating love with fate, chance, and miracles. He did think that smashing the spirit mirror offered at the Torii shrine was taking it a bit far, but he'd laughed it off and forgiven her, thinking of it as just a prank that showed how serious she was about her relationship with him. Just breaking a mirror in some musty shrine wouldn't have changed the fate of our meeting, and it would never cause any curse. He had tried to cheer her up, saying it was only a musty mirror covered in dust. Ever since I started working on this island, I've heard the story of a spirit called Beatrice-sama from several co-workers. In the beginning I thought it was ridiculous, but since it would appear indiscreet to say anything out loud, outwardly I conducted myself as though I also believed it. But could it really? She existed. Beatrice-sama was in this mansion all along, but she had lost her powers and wasn't able to appear before us. She did exist all this time, it's just that we couldn't see her. I'd like to hear Genji-san's opinion. I have no opinion. Don't ask me. I'm not getting paid to have an opinion here. All I want to say is that, at that time, there were 5 of us in this room. Then I thought that Kanon had returned through the back door. After that, we carried him to the servant room. Something happened, and now Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa will never come back to us. That is all. We have already explained everything we saw. I understand how unreasonable it would be to try and force belief from one who didn't witness those events. Such as yourself. How could he believe it? I was sure it was Kanon-san, but it got up from the bed. That's right, when it started to grope about that wound in its chest in that manner. Oh, don't make me remember that. I felt sure that it wasn't Kanon-san, but something else. I doubt you'll be able to understand, George-sama. The terror of that moment, when the person I thought I knew well exposed that it was in fact someone else entirely, I can't explain. I cannot explain it at all. I understand. I can tell that whatever happened, it was terrifying enough to give you such a shock. Thank you very much, George Summer. And they all fell silent again. Shannon kept crying no matter how many times she was consoled, thinking that listening to the witch's sweet whispers and breaking the spirit mirror on that day had been the mistake that ruined everything. The witch who whispered these things to you loses her powers if that mirror exists, right? So, can we make a new one? I think she explained it to me a little, but I don't really remember. I think she said something about how she couldn't release her power as long as that mirror existed. What happened to this mirror that you broke? I don't remember. I left it behind when I broke it, so it's probably just how I left it. So when, as they say, the reef was struck by lightning and disappeared, it must have sank to the bottom of the ocean. Oh, the whole reef disappeared. Oh, damn. I guess then we cannot get it back. Well, I doubt picking it up and typing it together would make it start working again. What have I done? Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. He didn't know Shannon breaking the mirror really had started all this off. Though the servants didn't blame Shannon, they all seemed to believe that her actions had been the root cause, but even now George wasn't able to go that far. All this talk about witches and evil spirits just sounded fake to him, even though he was trying to be open-minded. Even so, he listened seriously to Shannon's story, trying to find a hint that might relieve at least a little of the pain in her heart. Come to think of it, though it's surely different from the one in the torii, I have heard that Madame keeps the spirit mirror as a charm. Oh? Really? Aunt Natsuhi? Yes, I believe she received it as a memento from her grandfather or something, and that it functioned as a powerful ward against magic. A spirit mirror of high pedigree, I think. I have also heard that same story. Something about the mirror having the power to reflect that which is not good and send it back. If we had that spirit mirror, could we resist Beatrice, since she's a witch? Huh? When George proposed this, the servants looked up. The shrine and the torii where it was kept are gone now, but the important thing is that there's still another spirit mirror. I've heard that Aunt Natsuhi's family is descended from Shinto priests. Oh, really? Maybe that isn't just a simple mirror. Oh, I'm sure I've heard Madame say she keeps it in a treasure box. It might not be very large. I don't think its size is a problem. Even the mirror I broke was just a small, insignificant looking thing. If our opponent is occult, then we'll have to use the occult to fight back. Sitting around here won't solve anything. It's worth trying, if only for some peace of mind. Of course, this didn't mean that George had accepted the witch. However, he thought it would be necessary to have some kind of purification ceremony to heal the wounds in Shannon's heart. So this story about Natsuhi's spirit mirror was really convenient. Let's go. I won't say anything crazy like let's go get in and finish off the witch. However, I think it would be useful to have some sort of charm that can protect us from her. Maria-chan told me about it earlier, but the door to Grandfather's room was supposed to be able to repel magic, right? And so Grandfather for you. It means he was pretty good in defense when it comes to the cold. Let's go to Aunt Natsuhi's room. But I think Madame's room is locked. We returned the master keys to Rosa-sama, and even the key box in the servant room is now locked away. In that case, Aunt Natsuhi should have had a key on her person. Aunt Natsuhi's corpse should still be in the chapel. Are you gonna go there now? That's probably creepy. We probably shouldn't be disturbing it before the police come, but we can give a full explanation later. Wait, explanation? Proofreaders! However, the entrance to the chapel is also locked. Goda-san, can't you break a single glass window with your physical strength? You could smash it with a nearby rock. Would it not really be okay to break the window of that important chapel? What, you think Kinzo is gonna complain? He's in his room all day anyway. When Grandfather gets mad at us, I'll take responsibility. From the beginning, I've been ready to fight the whole Shinomiya family today. I've got to get them to accept my engagement to you, so I've been prepared from the start. Oh, George is becoming a bit of a badass now. See, officer, we looted the corpse because we needed to get a magical spirit mirror to ward off the witch that was out to kill us all. What do you mean? You, what, arrested me? Let's break the glass, and let's borrow the key from Aunt Natsuhi's corpse. George's announcement that he'd take responsibility seemed to have given the servants a great deal of courage. Shannon and Goda looked at each other, then looked at George's face again. Grandfather knows everything about the occult. I'm sure he'll understand if it's the power of old Nazi spirit mirror we're talking about. Don't worry, he won't get mad at you. If he knows so much, why don't you go to him now and talk to him? I mean, even if you know that he usually doesn't give a fuck about anybody, it's worth a try, especially with everything that's happening. I wonder if Madame's mirror will really be able to seal Beatrice Summer once again. I don't know, but I think it's worth trying. So let's go. It's getting darker and darker outside. Quickly! Shannon, get a flashlight. Goda-san, find something that looks like it can break the glass. You just use your head. Sorry, Genji, but can you be on umbrella duty? Yes, sir. The servants who had been rejected by Rosa gained a new master and started to move. Kinda like badass George. It's pretty cool. George, who was normally calm and gentle, was now radiating dignity. Shannon checked the emergency flashlight, just in case. She changed the batteries. Goda was testing several heavy-looking cooking tools. Normally a highly praised chef like him wouldn't want to use them for something other than their intended purpose, but now he was frantic to fulfill the orders of the one he accepted as his new master. After some worrying, he took a large, thick-feeling frying pan. Why can't you just use a rock? Genji removed several umbrellas from the umbrella stand set in the corner near the kitchen door. He took 3 of them. Genji-san, I cannot go with you. It would be embarrassing for me, as the head servant of the Ushiromiya family, if we were all gone when an order was given. Glad he stepped up since Battler is all useless now. Yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen with Battler now. He's gotta have his redeeming moment where he just reawakens. But Genji-san, even you must understand how dangerous it is to be alone in this mansion now. I cannot go. I must remain here so that the master can call for me at any time. Genji-sama. Go and obey George-sama. Be careful not to make any blunders. Goda, I am counting on you to set an example. Yes, leave it to me. I will surely fulfill my duty. You're sure about this, right, Genji-san? Yes, I am already at this age. All the days of my life until now have been spent repaying the debt I owe the master. The roulette will decide the fate of a senile old man like myself. I will sit here and see what the result will be with my own eyes. As Genji said that, he sat down. As though saying that he didn't intend to discuss this anymore, his gaze fell to the chessboard that he'd played Nanjo on. When George saw this, he decided to leave Genji there. Let's go, everyone. It looks like the wind has died down a bit for now. When George took an umbrella and dashed down the hallway, Shannon and Goda chased after him, each holding a tool. After they flew out of the room, Genji quietly stretched his hand out at the side of the chessboard. He softly pulled something there towards himself, covering it with his palm. Genji killed his breathing even more than before. As he did, something flashed gold. From inside an ice pail set on the counter, a small gold butterfly appeared softly and silently. It was almost as though it had seen George and the rest off, and was trying to secretly chase after them. What the fuck? It happened in an instant. The elegant gold butterfly, flapping its wings, was pinned against the wall by the knife Genji threw. Just like a butterfly in a bug collection. Man, Genji is... We should just call him Assassin Genji from now on. After the gold butterfly beat its wings several times, looking like it was in pain, it accepted the fact that it couldn't break free, became fine gold powder and smoke, and disappeared as though it had melted into water. Genji still gazed down at the chessboard, as though nothing has happened. Maybe he would think up a brilliant move very soon, but no matter what move he made, his opponent would not be able to respond for all eternity. Even though he knew that, Genji searched for a brilliant move. It must have been the perfect way to kill time during the short period before some fate would be given to him. He didn't know what result the roulette would bring about, but that decision would be made very soon. No one could interfere with the tumbling roulette ball. The door to the parlor was not only locked, but blocked with a barricade made of sofas and the like. Because of that, Aunt Rosa seemed to suspect that any suspicious person approaching would break in through the window. Sitting on a one-person sofa, her back to the door, she continued to hold onto her gun. I didn't know what was what anymore. And even though my body and mind were worn out, I played with Maria as she wanted. Just thought I heard a voice behind me. This game is getting to me. Maria had said it. Beatrice was testing us to see if we could solve the epitaph of the gold, so we had to try and figure out this riddle. In the beginning, I was a little interested and tried to solve it, but I didn't even have a clue where to start in this weird text. I didn't doubt that there was some riddle hidden there, but I seriously doubted I'd be able to suddenly leap to an answer. In the middle part of the epitaph, we see lines going from the 1st to the 10th twilight, telling us to journey to the Golden Land. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. It was obvious that this hinted at the first 6 murders that had already occurred in the chapel and Jessica and Kanankun's murders. If this was being followed, we still had to be prepared for 5 more people to be killed. On the 4th twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the 5th twilight, gouge the chest and kill. The 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa Bachan's corpses still haven't been found. However, if this follows the pattern and they're the sacrifices for the 4th and 5th twilights, they'll surely be found in a pitiful state with their head and chest gouged. So can we expect that 3 more of us will be gouged in the stomach, knee, and leg and killed? Who will it be? I looked around the room, noticing that there were 3 people here, but how should I put it? My emotions seemed paralyzed. Strangely, I didn't feel frightened. As I leaned against the sofa with the top part of my body, gazing up at the ceiling, Maria noticed. Apparently, she felt I was slacking off in my riddle solving. She got mad at me for not taking this seriously enough. Hey, Maria. What was it again that Beatrice said she'd do if we solved this? I'm sure the witch wrote in her letter that she'd give up on collecting interest or something abstract like that. I optimistically took that to mean she'd give up on killing the whole family, but was it really written with that meaning? For some reason I couldn't convince myself that solving the riddle would really save me. I feel like maybe even if we do solve it, we'll just be doing what the culprit wants, and it'll all be wasted effort. No, that's not true. If you solve the epitaph, Beatrice's ceremony will end. So after that, no more people will die. Really? Isn't that rule just something she made up? Whoever solves this riddle will probably learn the location of grandfather's hidden gold. Then she'll definitely go after it and... she won't go after it. How can you be so sure? The gold has been Beatrice's from the beginning. She wouldn't go after something that's hers. Then why is Beatrice giving us all these big hints? Not just that, why did she even set up this game-like thing? Risk is essential for magic. Risk? I don't really know what you mean. For example, in a marathon, do you think a medal anyone can get by running the whole thing is worth the same as the medal given only to the person who gets first? No, I don't. So what does this mean? In the end, she's just playing with us? Purposefully giving us a chance? Wrong! That's how magic works. No matter how great a work of magic is, it'll always have risks and weak points. No, it must have them. I don't get the stuff you call magic, but if I think about it as a gamble, I can understand a little. If you aren't prepared to lose big, then you can't win big. And the slimmer the chances of winning, the bigger the payoff. That's right. And Beatrice really did explain the risk of the ceremony to everyone, so if this riddle is solved, the ceremony will be suspended. After all, if she breaks her promises, there wouldn't be any risk. If we solve this, will she really keep her promise? Why are flowers beautiful even though they wither? Why is it that an artificial flower isn't beautiful, no matter how elaborate it is, even when you can't tell the difference by looking? Humans can bring about miracles by gambling on their death. If an undying human existed, they'd have no way of bringing about a miracle. That goes for us, life, the witch, and the ceremony too. If we don't bear a risk, we can't succeed in anything. What do we do if we solve the riddle? Should we raise a hand and cry, "I got it," tell the witch her answer and see what she says? I don't know about that. But if we solve it, the ceremony will surely end automatically. You sure know a lot, Maria. Did you learn all of that from Beatrice? So if you don't bear a risk, nothing can be gained, is that it? That definitely is the way of the world, but it's sort of in conflict with the chessboard thinking I like so much. At least when making moves in chess, players grope for the best move, always trying to avoid risk and hoping for an advantageous turn of events. True. They don't trust to chance like in gambling. That's right, there's no room for gambling in an intellectual game. And yet, this person called Beatrice has created such an outrageous crime, or maybe a ceremony, while purposefully imposing conditions for her own loss and announcing them to us. In chess, you always play your best move, so by putting yourself in your opponent's position, you can predict their next move. However, we can't be sure that Beatrice's moves are always the best moves possible. I thought she was probably making us focus on the epitaph to fool us into some way, speaking in riddles, but according to Maria, that alone was impossible. She said this was a genuine risk that the witch had taken, and therefore proof that this was a form of ceremony for magic. I can't understand this witch called Beatrice. If she's committing this chain of murders with some goal in mind, why did she go to all the trouble of exposing the conditions for her defeat? No matter how I spin the chessboard around and think from my opponent's perspective, I can't understand why she'd give up if this riddle is solved. Isn't it almost as though Beatrice doesn't care whether she wins or loses? Of course, chessboard reasoning won't work against an opponent like that. I don't understand. What is Beatrice after that is making her carry out this crime? If she just wanted to massacre us all, she could have done it quietly without this whole crazy setup. There was no need for that kind-hearted advance notice, all this self-aware closed room stuff, or any of the rest. It's all overacting. I've got no clue what it means. Will I be unable to understand everything as long as I keep thinking of Beatrice as a greedy human culprit? If I don't accept her as a witch, will my chessboard thinking be stuck before I've even lined up the pieces? If she really is a witch and everything Maria said is true, then there's only one thing for us to do. The theory building in Discord and searching for the culprit has all been pointless. We should have all gathered in the dining hall, combining our knowledge to solve the riddle. By combining the knowledge of that many people, we might have been able to grasp at least a thread of the answer. The greedy humans, each desiring to gain something over their opponents, were getting offered up as sacrifices one by one without gathering their knowledge together. In the end, did the humans get what they deserved? They thought they were using their brains, but they were actually thinking only of their greedy selves. In the end, chessboard theory is a thinking technique where you project yourself on your opponent, so greedy people see their greedy selves inside their opponents. I looked lazily at Aunt Rosa. She was probably tired from being under all this tension the whole time. She couldn't sleep, but she kept staring vaguely at some point off in space. Aunt Rosa had announced that we couldn't trust anyone who hadn't been killed. Aunt Rosa's chessboard thinking saw herself inside her opponent. In other words, maybe Aunt Rosa was an isolated woman, unable to trust anyone and unable to let her guard down. Long ago, I think I heard a bit about it from my dad. Aunt Rosa was originally a very obedient child, but her age was too far separated from the other siblings, and they often made conflicting demands of her during their confrontations. Thanks to this, she'd undergone a lot of psychologically harsh experiences in her youth. Often, when she copied one of her siblings, another sibling would give her a hard time. True, Aunt Rosa said many things today that could be taken as abusive, but that means those words were once showered upon her, which is why they were engraved in her vocabulary. The many abusive words that she had spoken were also words that she had been showered with in the past. Now that I think about it, I've picked up traces of Uncle Klaus and Aunt Eva in her style of speech from time to time. I assumed they were similar because they were siblings, but maybe it's more than that. For the first time, I truly sympathized with Aunt Rosa, who I had once thought was warm and gentle all the time. Then what about Maria? Maria has been making a certain claim for a while now. If we can solve the riddle the witch displayed to us, the ceremony will be halted, and will definitely be saved. And I think she also said that Beatrice will never break a promise. But this is Maria we're talking about. She herself never breaks promises, and she has the most innocent heart, so she believes Beatrice also won't break her promises. She is able to believe that, but isn't that just an image of Beatrice in Maria's mind? There's no proof that the real Beatrice always keeps her promises, right? She's gonna barge in and be like, I'll keep my promises. If you solve the riddle of the epitaph, you should be able to reach the Golden Land. When you do, the ceremony will end. No more people will die. So you're saying a complete monster like you follows the rules? I won't deny that I am brutal and unjust and a monster. However, I am a witch. I use magic. In order to use magic, there are some rules that must be followed. Because I am a witch, I cannot neglect those. You should believe at least that much. So even after all the crazy stuff you've done, you're still telling me to believe at least in the rules. I do play tricks. Of course I also deceive people. I'm no different from humans in that regard, but not once have I disregarded a promise I have spoken. What about humans? Do you always keep your promises? Since we have catchphrases like keep your promises, it's hard to imagine that we almost follow them properly. From my perspective, humans are the truly selfish monsters. There's nothing as dubious as a human's promise. Even I sometimes make contracts with humans, but you wouldn't imagine how strict an agreement must be made just to grant a single foolish wish. If there's even a small loophole, they will immediately say something like, increase the number of wishes to 100, or go turn yourself into a bean. There's this thing Dad always says. He says there's nothing as scary as contracts. According to him, it's only natural that people who sign without reading them thoroughly will get chewed to the bone. He's made a killing through vice. Imagine it. When people are born, they know nothing of fraud. They get it from somewhere, and so they learn it. Yes, the crimes of the human world, where people must press up against each other. Let me see, I've heard that from a witch somewhere. Oh well, I'm not as heartless as you think, you see. Liar, you killed so many people, and you did it in such horrible ways too. How could you not be heartless? You say you keep your promises? Don't say stuff like that. I won't accept you, ever. I believe my only way to resist you is never giving up on that. Oh, now you're talking like that again. You sounded pretty different earlier. I see. So you're saying this eternal torture will be the same for me? Perhaps. 1,000 years is a long time. Maybe a witch's true strength is decided not by their magical power, but by the strength of their endurance. Yes, I can accept how terrifying Lady Byrne is. Damn you babbling on and on about this incomprehensible stuff. Let's quickly get back to this eternal torture. I'm prepared to stick around for 1,000 years or even 10,000 years. Good, good. It looks like you've regained some of your will to fight. It would be boring otherwise. Come now, don't you often see it in competitive games? Sometimes one player intrudes on their opponent's territory, but the opponent is so weak that it's a bit of an anticlimax, so the first player loses on purpose to extend the game until the last round, during which they get serious and shower their opponent with blows, right? I don't get what that means. It's the same as wine. If you don't let it age well, it won't sparkle. You're the same as that wine. I'll carefully make you age. I'll raise you to be the best alcohol to adorn my elegant time. So don't give up after only this much. Keep on denying me. After all, as long as you don't accept me, I'm nothing more than a fleeting illusion. What the? Oh, that was the sound of the window breaking. No matter how many times I see it, it's awful. I truly sympathize. Shannon, John, please get the key. Even though she is dead, Madam is a lady. I cannot touch her. Of course. Shannon nodded sharply, her expression filled with a sense of duty. George, Goda, and Shannon had broken a suitable window and were inside the chapel. Since they really hadn't wanted to break one, they had searched for another way in, just in case. But in the end, after proving once again that there was nowhere they could slip in through, it only became more obvious that this chapel was a mysterious closed room. Inside the chapel, time had stopped ever since the last time they had left it. Even George wasn't able to approach that gruesome Halloween party again. It was only natural. It reminded him again of the sadness of losing both parents at once, and Goda, thinking of the possibility that those corpses might have changed in some horrible way now that half the day had passed, didn't want to let George get near them. Shannon followed Goda's instructions and approached the party table. Normally, Shannon might have resented having another dirty job forced on her, but now she could truly understand Goda's mental state. Even though Goda had prodigious skill, he'd gotten dragged into trouble, losing his job and ending up left out in the streets before Natsuhi gave him a new life. Oh, really? Goda had gotten into trouble, lost his job, and ended out on the streets? What did he do? Though it had just been a casual employment decision for Natsuhi, Goda must have thought it a turning point in his fate. Those around Goda could see that he felt a special kind of loyalty to Natsuhi, so he probably didn't want to lose that feeling even after her death. Now that half a day had passed, the bodies of Natsuhi and the rest had changed completely. Small bugs, sniffing out the smell of death, had started to gather. It really wasn't something you'd want to look at directly. Madam, excuse me. Because of her long experience as a servant, Shannon had an idea of which pocket Natsuhi kept the key to her room in. It would probably be this pocket. Her guess didn't fail her. Just by touching the outside of the pocket, she was immediately able to feel it. It's here. The key to Madam's room. Shannon held the key up high, showing the others that it had been found. As George and Goda watched her, their eyes opened wide. It wasn't the expression Shannon was expecting, so it startled her. Uh-oh. After all, Shannon hadn't noticed. George and Goda, watching from afar, noticed it first. When Shannon had held the key up high, a blizzard of gold leaf had seeped up from around the table. They were countless gold butterflies. It was the first time George had seen them, so it might have looked like some kind of illusion, but Goda already knew. He knew that those gold butterflies were far from beautiful and that they would bring about some kind of misfortune. And that gold swelled, trying to suck Shannon in. Shannon-san, run! Huh? Yeah! Shannon also realized that gold butterflies were trying to swallow her up. She ran unsteadily, her expression still shocked. As she did, the gold butterflies danced around her all at once. They grouped together. They tried to swallow her up. Shannon! Damn it, what is this? Are these the gold butterflies you were talking about? Outside quickly, you bastards! Damn it, damn it! George and Goda rushed up to Shannon, driving off the cloud of butterflies, and while the butterflies were scattered, they ran towards the broken window. However, they needed a good footing to get out the window, which was surrounded by shards of broken glass. When they had entered, there had been enough time to prepare for that, but now there was none. Let's go out through the door. There's no time to look for a footing. It won't open. It's stuck. Give it to me. Damn, this piece of crap. Joe-sama, quickly. Damn it, don't take me lightly. Goda took off his jacket, swinging it around and scattering the group of butterflies, but saying he was outnumbered would be a real understatement. It was doubtful that it even bought them a short amount of time. George struggled with the broken handle. Its age showed and it didn't turn well. I can't leave it to strength. It needs the right angle or there's some trick to it. Joe-sama, damn it. At this point, it probably would have been faster to find a footing. You monsters! At that moment, Goda saw it. He was seen by it. In other words, their eyes met. On top of the party table, no, with the stained glass behind it, floating, laughing, was the figure of the witch. He saw the figure of the laughing witch in the center of the golden whirlwind with the gold butterflies fluttering about at the ready. Beatrice! It should have been Goda's first meeting with her, but he knew her at a glance. Just like the other servants had said, this was certainly the witch of the portrait herself. It's almost time for dinner, is it not? I am the host of this mansion now, so I must give you a warm reception before your wonderful dinner. And look, we even have 3 people fit to order. Uh-oh. My, how truly, truly convenient. Wow. Moment. Okay. It's open. Goda-san, quickly. Beatrice-sama. Huh? Are you sure it's a good idea to just stand there? If you think this place will make a fitting cemetery for yourselves, then be my guests. I must praise your spirit for wanting to stay by your former master's sides and serve them even after death. The golden whirlwind that wrapped around the witch burst. It was like an evil hand had literally spread its fingers and was trying to attack them. The cloud of gold butterflies attacked with a fluttering sound. Hurry! We can't stay here! George's voice brought Shannon and Goda back to their senses. Standing here now would make them like frogs getting stared down by a snake. They had to resist. They had to fight this incarnation of a new, brutal and frightening order in which Rock and Jima had been enveloped. Cool music. There was no time to take out their umbrellas. Yeah, the 3 of them dashed out into the pouring rain. The 3 of them never realized because they didn't turn around. But the gold butterflies apparently couldn't handle the rain too well, and this hampered their ability to chase after the humans. The three people ran from their golden pursuers and flew into the mansion.
How nice, how nice. It wouldn't be as fun any other way.
They unlocked the door and dashed into the room. A bit of the scent from Natsuhi's favorite gentle incense remained in there. However, there was no time to let that calm them now.
Where is it? You said it was in a treasure box, right?
No, let me guess, it doesn't do shit. She's just gonna laugh about the mirror and then kill them.
It's just a story I heard. I never heard exactly where it was. I think it'll probably be in her dresser next to the bed.
Shannon's womanly sensibilities led her to conclude that. But next to the bed, there was only an incense burner, a half-read novel, and glasses. However, the dresser was elegant and had many drawers, and it would be understandable if she had kept some of her valuables there.
Oh, Natsuhi, sorry.
He began to violently open each one of the drawers. He had to hurry. I can totally picture this in my mind right now. He's like opening everything. He couldn't actually hear footsteps, but he had the feeling that the witch was approaching. He had the feeling that her laugh was approaching. He emptied the drawers one by one and examined their contents. Every small box for makeup looked like a treasure box, and the amount of effort it would take to inspect all of them made him feel a little dizzy.
Maybe it's this box. It's locked and I can't open it.
At a glance, it looked slightly larger than a music box. When shaken, it rustled, as though various small objects were inside, but it was locked and didn't open.
Now, normally, you'd hide the key somewhere nearby. But some people would always carry it on their person. I don't know.
There's no choice, break it. But we can't do it with force, right? We might break the mirror inside and that would be stupid.
Could there be a tool to pry it open? Damn it.
Gora looked all over the room, trying to see if there was some tool that they could use, and he noticed the door, which had been left open ever since they'd entered. He approached the door to close it and saw the abominable shadows of people approaching from beyond the darkness in the hall. No, it wasn't shadows of people, because they weren't human at all.
George-sama, hurry!
Gora's voice trailed off. It was the shock of seeing a procession of those not of this world. He was a servant, so he knew all the servants working for the Ushidomiya family, but he didn't know about these. However, they were definitely servants, and not servants working for Ushidomiya Kinzo or Ushidomiya clans. Oh, those again. These new servants who worked for the new master of the mansion, the golden witch Beatrice, the goat heads and bright red boiled eyes of lava. One for each, huh? As the new master laughed loudly and trimly directed 6 of the new servants, oh, okay, 2 for each, he saw them approach, piercing the darkness as they came. Of course, she was clad in the gold butterflies that were her symbol. Gora hurriedly closed the door and locked it. Not sure if that's gonna do much. However, just as he locked it, it returned to normal, just as though a spring or something had knocked it back. It gave the illusion that some prankster beyond the door was unlocking it every time he locked it. They couldn't have reached the other side of the door yet, so who was doing it and how? It almost felt like playing with a broken toy. Click boing. Click boing.
It won't lock even if I lock it in the box. What's going on? Damn it, damn it, damn it. Did you think a lock would stop me? Did you think the door to that room could hold back that room's new master?
It was like the witch could see Gora's frantic effort through the door. Even now the footsteps continued to approach, and were not just their footsteps, but even their breath could be heard. Gora gave up on the lock and slammed into the door, locking it using his own large body.
George-sama, quickly, quickly, quickly! George-sama, what about this?
A letter opener? That's better. Let me have it. The fountain pen isn't working yet. No shit. George took it and once again dug into the crack under the lid of the treasure box. It looks like it's working.
Quickly, quickly! Yeah. Ah.
The pressure from across the door grew even stronger. Gora screamed. This wasn't a war cry during a test of strength. He was terrified. He was simply terrified that nothing but a single wooden door was stopping him from touching something not of this world. But he was still lucky. He wasn't touching the things directly, because they were on the other side of the door. So if he were to touch them directly, Gora's cry would surely turn from something brave into a pathetic, piercing scream, and therefore one that was more real. That can't be good. Gora couldn't believe what was happening right before his eyes. Coming through the door, an arm was slipping straight through the wood like it was water, as though doing this was the most natural thing in the world. and it rubbed at the back of Goda's hand as he frantically tried to hold the door shut. It slid up his arm to his chest and then up to his chin. But now Goda's scream wasn't even audible anymore. He could hear a sweet whispering voice from across the door. It wasn't coming from the witch, but it sounded like a young woman. However, that didn't change the fact that it came from someone not of this world. Oh, who are you?
So cute. Hey, you see it, right? Your life flashing before your eyes. Let me know when it's over, Kay. Thanks. It's over already, isn't it?
Oh shit, one down. That lewd arm burst. Then they heard the sound of something jumping around the room at an incredible speed. They didn't know what it was. Incredibly fast, small, like steel or maybe a beetle. When it buried itself right in the center of Goda's chest and stopped, they realized for the first time that its true form was something like a stake with a strange design on it. Goda's large body shook, bent backwards, and fell over. Rip. As it did, the door opened softly, even though no one was pushing it, welcoming in the new master of this room. It looked almost as though the door itself had accepted her. The goat attendants came in one after another, 6 of them. Then that witch came in, and the gold butterflies came in as well. The room was wrapped in a blizzard of gold leaf, which fell and piled up, turning it more and more into a world of gold.
Shannon, the roulette has chosen you and George. Thank me for your day of release. Do you have any regrets? You don't, do you? Receiving an engagement ring from the man you fell for, and then being killed before spending your first night together? That hardly counts as a regret at all, right?
Yeah, I would probably disagree.
You wanted him to hold you, didn't you? You wanted him to teach you a woman's joy, right?
No.
Oh, no, Shannon. You're dribbling, see? Your regret is dripping down from your mouth. I can see it dribbling down from your mouth, Shannon.
It was the sound of the lid to the treasure box breaking open. When George turned it over, accessories, charms, and various small objects that Natsuhi had treasured when she was a girl fell out. So no mirror. Oh? Mixed in with that was a pouch that stood out from the rest. He picked it up and was immediately sure. What is an MLP collection? This was it. I found it. This is it.
So close and yet so far. Die! Damn it!
All at once, the gold butterflies attacked George, who was hurriedly trying to remove the contents of the pouch. What the fuck? The fuck is that? At that time, a bright red flash seemed to light up the room for an instant. That red flash seemed to cut a hole in the cloud of gold butterflies raging around the room, drawing a circle with Shannon at the center. Is that like a special power? She's like a tank. So the resulting scene looked truly divine, almost as though a single streak of light had cut through the clouds in this world of gold. Well, not a tank, I mean more like a healer. I was thinking a tank, like she runs and aggroes all the enemies and then she does the protecting thing, but that would make even more sense as a healer, so you protect everybody, not just yourself. Why am I even talking about that? George, who was curled in a ball trying to protect himself from the group of butterflies, didn't have a clue what was going on. Then he noticed that Shannon was standing guard in front of him, shielding him. As he glared at the witch and the rest with a serious face, as she glared at the witch and the rest with a serious face she had never shown him before.
I had forgotten. You're another sample of Kinzo's outstanding furniture, and you have majored much more than Kanon. How could you do that to Kanon-kun? I don't mean killing him. How could you erase his remains and even try to disgrace his honor? Come now, Shannon. Is that why you're mad?
If you're lonely because Kanon hasn't been around, just let me know, and I'll let you see him whenever you like. Yeah, that's gonna be a no, dog. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. That is mean. Where the witch snapped her fingers, one of the six goat attendants glittered gold and changed into Kanon. It was definitely a sight to make one doubt their eyes. It was definitely Kanon's face. However, in those eyes, the glint of Kanon's integrity was nowhere to be seen. They were the hazy eyes of furniture that only obeyed the orders of the witch. George couldn't understand the scene right before his eyes, and he finally understood why Goda and the rest had been unable to talk about what they had seen in the servant room. Are you enjoying this? Since you ask, yes, actually, quite a lot. It's always fun to reunite a pair that have been torn apart by death. After all, I get to enjoy tearing them apart by death, reuniting them, and then tearing them apart again. So, Kanon, go and play with your sister. If she knocks you about, let her see you suffer with all the anguish you can manage. Oh, damn. From the imposter Kanon's arm, a strangely shining curve extended. He planned to tear Shannon apart with that. With a single stroke, he would attack Shannon, who still hadn't prepared her heart, and... I won't forgive you. I'll never forgive you for dishonoring the dead, not just once, but twice. Enough babbling, go get killed by your brother, Shannon. I'm sure you'll bear witness to a wonderful dream. Great music again. The imposter Kanon certainly seemed to lunge at Shannon, drawing several purple curves. But when he flew at her, it was as though some kind of invisible wall had been placed in front of her. The wall repelled the imposter, leaving a bright red ripple on its surface. No, it... That's kind of funny. It didn't repel him, it smashed him. It's like he just ran into there and just got smashed into bloody pulps. It knocked him back, turning him into golden dust. Oh, okay. Into little bits, scattering them. That foolish furniture who had taken Kanon's form and even disgraced his honor after death broke into countless gold butterflies, and then those butterflies themselves broke into pieces, and those pieces were broken into pieces until they were no longer butterflies, but a golden splash that faded away. Shannon? George-san, please don't move from that spot. I don't want to shift the central axis. Oh, she certainly is surprised. Well, this is certainly a surprise, as I said. So, though your face makes it look as though you wouldn't hurt a fly, you can display such power. I see, so that spirit mirror is lending you strength. But you don't have the tools or the time to draw out its true power. I won't let you have either of those. Great, so they just brought her to it. So maybe she can destroy it now. Although she couldn't destroy the other one, so I wonder if she even has the power to destroy this one. The spirit mirror George gripped had let out a divine glow, displaying a strength powerful enough not to submit to wicked forces, but that glow was no match for the witch's sinister nature. This is why furniture can be frightening. That feeling like unexpectedly stubbing your little toe on the corner of a cabinet. Yes, this is why furniture can be frightening. You furniture, furniture, furniture. I am not furniture, and right now you seem very pitiful to me. What? Oh. What did this furniture, who hasn't lived even 100 years, just say to a 1,000-year-old witch? You're a very pitiful person. Of course, two people in love will have regrets when they're separated. Like, duh, but they'll feel none of the kind of regret you're hoping for. You dare to speak, furniture. Have you forgotten the days when you were so desperate to be tied to George that you licked my shoes? I broke my little toe. Smashing it against the wall of the bathtub, the wall of the bathtub, and you heard that sounded like a twig, and then my toe just got really big and blue. Yeah, that was not fun. Wouldn't recommend. 10 out of 10 stars, certainly not. That is the true horror story indeed. Living with love and crawling through the muck is what humans do. If you sneer and look down on them for that, then you're far inferior to them. Especially now, I pity you. How precious is it for a loving couple when they bring their love to fruition by sleeping together on their first night?
Oh, she's even saying it.
It does have meaning, it definitely does, but it's completely different from what you're saying. It means something so sacred that one such as you has no right to speak of it wickedly. So I no longer have any regrets. George-san and I have sworn our love to each other. As proof, I accepted his ring. With that, our eternal vows are completed. No matter how you torture us with your wicked magic and your malice, you cannot disgrace eternity. Ah. Don't speak in cheap ideals like some poet.
Hold on, there's a cat behind me.
Okay. Ha! Don't speak in cheap ideals like some poet. Love is lust, totally meaningless unless you're sleeping together. Men are mere flies and maggots that get drawn to your female scent and crowd around you.
Well, sounds like she has made the best experiences. If she ever did have any at all.
Do you still not understand that at your age? You'll despair. You despair. The very first time you witness the dark lust of that glassless man behind you, you'll be crushed, shocked, dumbfounded, stupefied, and it's all useless, Shannon. Yeah, that's enough talk out of you, you furniture. Who the hell do you think you are, talking like that? No matter how beautiful you try to make love sound, in the end, it's a fraud because love is filthy filth. Don't people become adults when they realize that? Die, you trash furniture, scrap. I'll turn you into a filthy maggot, then we'll see whether the glasses guy still loves you. I'll show you that this guy's only had his eyes on your flesh. Die, you piece of crap. Don't you tell me about love.
Man, does she have some kind of trauma here? I mean, sounds like it.
Yeah, exactly. She really has a complex there. The invisible column of light with Shannon at the center started to have bright red ripples drawn all over it at once. The wall did its best to withstand the unseeable malice that tried to corrode in on them from all directions. What? Do you actually think you're resisting? You're insignificant, you're frail, just like your cheap ideals, just a frail pretense. You're just hiding what you don't want to see by covering it with a veil. Do you still not understand? That's why your furniture, see, it's being erased. Crack, crunch, smash, snap, how thin, how shameful. Parmigiano
What was that? Hey, would you please let me finish reading it? Just went on.
It's not even here. I cannot scroll back to what she just said. Okay, sorry. The golden windstorm that covered the room gradually began to shave the walls of the column that protected Shannon and George. The bright red ripples frantically drew a resisting pattern, but that just turned into a red wall of despair that began to wrap the two of them up. Is there also original images for this? No. George-san, I'm sorry. It was too much for me, after all. Yeah, thank you. You fought for my sake. That alone makes me happy. The round wall that had once protected them was assaulted and covered with a curve of bright red ripples as it seemed to scream, and it began to suck the two of them up instead. George-san, can I ask a favor? Shannon grasped George's hand behind her, so George hugged her shoulders just as strongly. What is it? In the end, please let me hear you say, I love you. Yeah. Say, I will forever.
Yeah, why am I not surprised she didn't let him say that?
Now only Genji is left. This probably means they're gonna suspect Genji now.